Okay, class, pay attention. We have a Dark Academia lesson coming up. Hello everyone, I'm Caroline and welcome to my channel. If it's your first time here, then lovely to see you, and don't forget to subscribe before you go. I've got some Dark Academia projects that are tied into spring. They're not as dark as you would imagine. They've got a little bit of green to lighten them up, but Dark Academia nevertheless, and I love them. I can't wait to show you. So, no time for chatting. Let's get on with crafting. Here's a pretty doll. I can't remember now if I paid like 25p for her or had her for nothing. It was a ridiculous bargain. And I thought, I'm sure I can do something with that. And I thought of the perfect thing to do. So, first thing we need to do is take this bag off. It's really, I wonder if we can, no, we just cut it off. I think it'd be quicker. Like that. Ooh, I wonder if there's anything in it. It's just padding, wadding stuff. And now I need to take her dress off, or at least pull it down over her shoulders. And this is going to be really drastic. I'll tell you what, we'll take her off the stand. This is ridiculous trying to make her do things on the stand. Come on, off you come. There we go. Oh, pull the bloomers down. Come on, you'll never be a lady with your bloomers around your ankles. Pull them up. There we go. Oh, she's really had a hard time. Somebody smashed her there, but I don't mind. And she's been fixed with one of these plastic ties. That's going to be a challenge. I'm going to undo that. There we go. Pull that out. And now I can hear you say, no, don't do that. Her head will fall out. Exactly. Ow! Oh, stop complaining. Now you can go over there. Okay. And now I've got this. Now, you may think, hang on a minute, we're not doing Halloween, we're doing Dark Academia. And I am, because I've also got one of these. Whoops, I got my needle there. And this is a bunny rabbit, and perfect for the spring. And not only is it perfect for the spring, but I think this is going to be perfect for a Dark Academia theme spring. So first thing I'm going to do is take the bunny's head off. No, don't take my head off. Quiet. Don't worry, he's fully anaesthetised. He can't feel a thing. Oh, yes, I can. Just be quiet. You'll be fine. Okay. And chop all the way around. I think I'm going to need a bigger scissors. Oop. I could cut it with the actual seamers and it would be a bit neater, but I want to have a bit more fur. I was going to say flesh, a little bit more fur hanging down. And I'm going to put that away because you never know when that'll come in handy. And now I got this, and I'm going to get a needle with some very thick cotton on. This is actually crochet cotton. I think it's really good for binding journals, sewing up anything like this that really needs a bit of extra oomph. And now don't worry if you don't like sewing. It's really not sewing. It's just poking a peg in a hole. You go in the hole and out the hole, in the hole and out the hole, and just doing a in and out all the way around this hole. Making sure you're not too close to the edge, because otherwise it'll just pull out. I'm trying to go just in, if the seam is here, I'm going just the other side of the seam, and you'll be able to feel that with your fingers when you're putting your fingers inside to hold it in place. And then when you get back to the beginning, tie a knot and pull it tight. Meow. You can really get some pressure on this. You still can't pull it ridiculously tight, it would snap, but it will take an awful lot of pressure. And tie another knot, and there we go. One bunny head. Now if you want to, you can put something in here just to hold it tight, but I think that's pretty firm. If you have a look, this is nicely tight and well stuffed and shaped, so it's not going to go anywhere. So I think that'll be fine. When I put some glue around here, the head should be held in just the right position. So while I'm waiting for my glue gun to warm up, I'm just going to take this off her a little bit. I'm going to take it off her completely. put her over there. And I'm going to take my brown, because I think this is a bit bright and cheerful for dark academia. And got this brown ink pad, and I'm going to go over this dress and the lace. Just make it look really old and aged. Because dark academia, the word dark should give you a hint. You want things dark, but if you're making this just for a happy bunny scene for your house, and you're not worrying about it being dark academia, you wouldn't need to darken it at all. Oh yes, I think that looks much more dark academia theme, so I need to do it at the top as well. This is one of those jobs that will get you absolutely covered in ink. Yes, it started. By the time I finished, I'll be a right mess. What I like about this is it's going through the holes in the lace and actually darkening some of the fabric underneath, so it's really aging it. You can see there, I definitely think for dark academia, that half of the dress is much better than that. Oh, look at that. I look like I've been playing out in the mud. Look at me. It's really mucky brown, this one. I'm not sure what brown it is. Cocoa brown. Yes, it is a bit chocolatey, isn't it? I think I'm going to highlight some of that bow with some brown as well, just to try and give that a little bit more darkness and age. Not too much. I'm not going to try covering it completely, but just like as if it's well worn and been in some dusty, grotty place for a while. And now I'm going to put a row of hot glue, first of all, underneath the neck there, and then I'm going to push the neck onto the hot glue so that stays in place. Makes it a bit more secure. Now I'm going to put a nice wodge of hot glue all the way around. Like that. If you don't put enough on, then you'll get a wobbly head. And we can't be doing with wobbly heads on our dark academia items. Far too amusing. And then make sure it's central. Like that. And push it on and hold it into place. So now we've got a rather weird creature. It's got a rabbit's head, human arms, human legs and a human body. Ooh, very creepy. So now let's pop the dress back on. But now I think we've made the body, or at least the dress, look like it could be 100 years old because it's rather grubby. Pop that into place, and I don't think this is going to do up around this bunny's neck. That doesn't matter. I can put some hot glue down the back there. Hold it into position. Oh, look, poor old bunny's got his fingers jammed. There we go. And now we need to stick bunny back in the holder. I really need to stop calling this bunny. It isn't very scientific, as we call this. We will put in this strange rabbit specimen back onto its stand. Yes, I like that. This is a rabbit specimen, okay? Strange rabbit specimen. What do you think? I'm a really weird rabbit. What do you think? I'm a rabbit specimen. So that's a really easy dark academia project you can make. And you can put a more old looking rabbit's head on. I didn't have a really old looking one, but if you did, then that would look better. Or even one that's broken. That really doesn't matter, because just the damage would add to the look of this. So now, what are we going to do with our doll's head? Well, I'll show you on the next project. And now we're going to deal with this doll's head and make another dark academia craft. For now, she has to go out of the way. Pop her over there because we've got some painting to do. And I've got this green lid off a jar that I'm going to have to paint black. And also this candlestick, which I'm going to give a really heavy dry brushing of. Well, that's the plan. I may completely cover it in black. I'll see what it looks like. But first things first, let's make a start on this plastic lid. I like to make my chalk paint fairly thick. That way then you can put less layers on. But this black over the green plastic, I think is going to take at least 2 layers. Alright, so that's the first layer on there. Now I'm going to try a dry brush layer and see if it's going to be better with dry brushing on it or whether to go the whole hog and cover it completely in black. Always best to do this if you can not commit yourself and try one plan and then try another. It gives you that second attempt. Otherwise, if you painted it all black and thought, no, I only wanted like a dry brush effect, then you've got to paint the thing white again and then paint it black again. That's an awful lot of work. I don't think I'm liking this dry brush effect on this. I think I'm going for completely covering it. But at least I tried. And I now know I want it completely covered. And chalk paint on wood should stick better and should dry faster. I'm painting this, but I've actually got 2 alternatives. And I'm not sure which one is going to look best. So I want to ask you your opinion at the end. It's great having you chatting and telling me what things you like and what things you would have changed, things like that. And it's great because then anybody reading the comments can all read your comments and pick up new ideas. And that way we all learn together. You come up with such brilliant ideas. Never ceases to amaze me when I make a craft. You see it and it inspires you. And that's the whole thing with seeing somebody else crafting. If you want to, you can make identical. But it's always nice to add a bit of yourself in. And woo! When somebody adds a bit of themselves in, it's amazing just how a little tweak makes a huge difference. Oh, this is going on really nicely. I don't mind this sort of painting. I find it quite therapeutic. Painting on plastic and metal and glass can be rather stressful if you're like me and you're a bit impatient and a bit ham-fisted. Now I'm going to use my drill. Now this has got the wrong bit in it, so I thought, well, I'll show you. I'm not sure if you call that the bit or the drill, but I'll show you how you change one of these. So on my drill, you just push that button, which reverses the action. Hold the front, don't hold this bit, you'll hurt your hand. Hold just the front bit, and then a couple of little presses on the trigger, and it'll open this up. You can take your drill out, put your new drill in, then push this button the other way towards you. Hold that front bit again, don't hold this bit, and slowly tighten it, and you make sure it's central as you're doing it, like that, until it goes a little. I'm not sure at what point you're supposed to stop. I just find as soon as it's uncomfortable to hold, I let it go, take my finger off the trigger, and it's fine, it's tight enough for me. So now I want to drill a hole in the centre of this lid. It's still a little bit wet, but then again, you know me, I never let things dry. I'm not sure if this is big enough, so we're going to find out by screwing this ball into the hole. I think it's too small. If you do it too loose, it doesn't matter, because you can just use a bit of glue to hold it in place. This is just a knob off a curtain tie back holder thing. It goes all the way in to there. And now got a knob on the top for lifting up my cloche. There's a big blob of paint there. We're not going to look at that, okay? It's not really there. You'll know it's there because it'll end up all on my hands now. So now take your little, whatever you call it, your lid of your cloche. Get a drill and make a hole. I'm not sure which is the best way to attack this. Try this way. Rub that bit off, and I'll touch that up as well later, otherwise I'm going to be really badly covered. I'm pretty badly covered now. Now get a string of lights. I got these ones from Temu. Just be careful, they were a really good price, and then it was only when I got them back I realised that they didn't include batteries. So it's not a huge difference then to buy the batteries. I think they were 12 for £1, but still it's an expense that I wasn't planning on, so just be careful when you do that sort of thing. Always check every detail. See if they say things like batteries included. So I'm going to poke those through. Get the last one in. And then I'm going to glue this switch to the back here. So you're always going to have a front and a back on your lid. Because if you don't put it in exactly the right position, you will see this big lump. It's just pity they haven't come up with a smaller one of these yet. They are rather in your face, aren't they? Rather large. You could paint it black as well. So now I'm going to pop this in a jar so it doesn't fall over. And I'm going to get my lights and wind these to be roughly the size of the inside of the jar. Very, very roughly. Pop them in, and then I'm going to use my glue gun. Just fix them in a couple of places. This hasn't got to be terribly neat, but be careful, because if you've put a lot of your hot glue down, then you're still going to feel the heat if you hold it too long. Oh, look! Glue strings everywhere. No surprise there. I've always got glue strings everywhere. And I'm going to put that over there to cool. Now I'll show you my two options. I'm going to use this as a close. It's one of those, I think it's a goldfish bowl. I got it from the pound shop over in the UK. It'll be available in Dollar Tree, Hobby Lobby probably, places like that, Dollar General. You should be able to find one somewhere. They're always in stock. Now I'm either going to put it on this little plinth here. I love this. It's a really old-fashioned dated plinth. Poor thing's had woodworm at some point. I don't think it's got it anymore. I hope not. No, it's pretty good. It's been treated. And I could put that on there like that and have a low plinth. Or I can stick that on top of there and then, problem again with the camera, put it on there and have a really high plinth. Now I think the high plinth is better. What do you think? What would you have done? Low or high? So now we'll pop those out of the way for a minute, and I'm going to take the doll's hair off. Try not to get too... Oh, it's getting worse. I'm trying to fix it and it's getting worse. Do you reckon I'm the messiest crafter on YouTube? I reckon if there was a prize for the messiest crafter on YouTube, I'd at least be in the running. I'd be in the nominees. Oh... Right, so now let's try taking her hair off. Well, this is called the wig on a China doll. So off with her wig. They usually peel off quite well. Like that. I'm going to keep that wig for future use. I'll be able to do something with it. Ooh, I could make a really creepy bunny for Halloween without a head. No, that's not going to work, is it? No, we have to think of something else. Anyway, I digress. So now I want to cover this here with something strange, and I thought to go for something rather weird and wonderful. So I've got some plants here. I don't know how far they'll go in. I think I'm going to have to chop these. Yep, let's get my pliers out. My big one, I think. Chop these off. And checking the height. No, that's too tall. It's going to have to be shorter ones. I just happen to have some shorter ones here, so I've used these before, as you can see on another project. Let's clear off some of the bottom gunge on that. All the hot glue, whoops, and the bits and pieces. I always reuse everything. Well, not everything, but most things I'll reuse. I wonder if that was essential. It doesn't seem to be coming apart, so I'll put it there. So I think I will glue that. Have I got a bigger one? I don't like those ones. The fact that I don't like them because they're really weird looking might be good for something like this. Right, so let's chop the end off that one. And if that's going to go on the front there, I'll need something on the back too. Aha, I can put one each side. I've got two of these. So let's try gluing these into place and see how it goes. I could regret this. I'm not one of these crafters that always does prototype. I usually get the idea and then think, right, here we go. Let's just try it. So I'm going to hold those in place just for a couple of minutes, just so they get a really good grip. You really need to put plenty of hot glue on something as uneven as this. It's not as if it's got a flat bottom going onto a flat head. The head is rounded and the bottom is very bitty. See if I can take my hands off. Yep, that's pretty good. But now you can see there's still a large amount at the front that need fixing. So let's have a look what we can do with these. Yeah, I think I'm going to glue those into place on the front of her head. Sorry you can't really see everything. She looks like a forest Medusa. All strands hanging down. I think the front is pretty good. Let's have a look at the back. Oh, we need to put something on the back. She's got a rather large bald patch at the back. I'm going to pop some of these leaves, I think, in the back. That would be fun. I think they're eucalyptus leaves, are they? I'm not quite sure. They're just really to cover the bald bit. You won't see the back because, as I showed you, you've got the battery box on the back, so you can't really have a major bit of the back of her head on display. Unless you don't mind people seeing the battery box. And if you painted the battery box black, as I said, then that'll probably cover quite a lot. Some of those there. And I think I'll put some dangles coming down the back as well. If she's going to be a semi-Medusa, then she does need to have rather an extravagant hairstyle, doesn't she? I hope I've got the right name now. Say Medusa, and you won't be saying, no, that wasn't Medusa. I think it was. So now we just need another little bit of something in the front. I've got more of these, so I'll use those. It's a good idea not to glue these pieces to your finger, like I just did on my thumb. I went like that and it stuck to my thumb. And it was very hot, it hurt. So now, it's time to glue her head onto the plinth. As centrally as possible. Nice wood of hot glue. And on she goes. Now I'm going to set that to one side as we start to sort out this cloche. Everything in there should be dry now, yep. Find out where this is going to fit and then you can glue it into place. Oh, that battery box looks bigger every time I see it. Right into place. So now let's try the lights in our cloche. Yes, they work. If you look up inside, they don't look very pretty, but you're not going to see that. So let's turn them off. And let's see if this fits over. Yes, I think that's going to be fine. So the next thing we need to do is to decide if it's going to be a low cloche or a high cloche. And I think a high one. So I'm going to put it up there. Well, before I do, I'll put a little bit of this filling in. I wanted to put some of this in and you're not going to be able to see me doing it. So I'll do it now. I just thought I'd put some around her neck to almost look like a mist, like a little bit of spookiness. Not tons and tons of it. I don't want her looking like she's got a fur collar on like Santa. Just a little bit of ethereal, misty stuff. And it also covers the glue. Always good to have an idea to cover your glue blotches. So just a little tiny bit around. Like that. Then you can't see where her neck begins or ends. You don't know if it's a gory looking neck. All you can tell is she's got a neck. Now it's time to glue this onto the plinth. So around the outside with some hot glue. It's much easier if you put this on first because then you can turn the whole thing upside down and make sure you are very central. But if I do that, you won't be able to see anything I'm doing. So I do mine after the fact. About there. Yes, that'll do. About there. push it into place, put my cloche on the top, turn it around so the battery box is at the back. You can see I definitely need to paint a bit more black on there. Probably won't get that done before I film this up on my desktop, but it will be getting blacker eventually. So now, turn on the light, and it gives her a little bit of lighting as well. So let's all see what this looks like when it's stood up properly. For this dark academia craft, I'm going to use another China doll's head. I've had a quick try at pulling the wig off this one and it's pretty firmly stuck, so I may need to take some extra time to get that off, and if not, we'll give her some sort of strange haircut instead. But I need to put her to one side because I've got this lantern. I got this when I was over in France at a street market, or a brocante they call them, and I got this for, I think it was either 50 cents or €1, which is roughly equivalent to £1, or I suppose $1. There's not a lot of differences there in the currency anymore. But I don't want this bright shine to it. I want it to look a little bit more aged and mysterious. So we're going to do something magical with cinnamon. Get yourself a very expensive palette. I like to use scrap paper, scrap cardboard, anything like that. And I got some paints. I'm not using my most expensive paints. These ones I had to do a review on, a couple of years ago now, I think. And they're not as good quality as some of the others I've used. They're quite good, but they're not the top. So I do find that they're not as opaque as I would like. So I'm going to do a couple of splurts of different colours. I want some black and some light brown and some dark brown. Nope, nothing left in there. Well, I'm going to work with light brown and black then. So now I'm going to work on sections of this lantern. It's much easier if you've got something flat. But I haven't, so this will do. So I'm just going to start on the front here, and there is a little bit of where they'd stuck a price sticker on it. But it doesn't matter because we're going to really rough this up. Just wondering with this one, sometimes you can pull the handle off. No, can't pull the handle off that. It would make it less clattery. It'll be fine. So now using the black, I'm just going to blodge it just to one side so that you can see what I'm doing, and I'm not going to make a terrible mess. Well, in theory, I bet I'll manage anyway. I'm just going to blodge bits of acrylic paint all over. I think you could probably do this with chalk paint. I'm not sure. I've never tried it with chalk paint, but I don't see any reason why not. Let me know if you've tried it with chalk paint. And now, cover it all. This is really therapeutic because you can't do this wrong, because you don't even need to cover it all as such, and you don't want to paint it on, you want to blob it on. You want it to look quite old and tatty. It will take more paint probably than you assume because it's so thick when it goes on. And now you don't even need to clean your brush because you want a little bit of mixing of the colours, and blob some of this all over it as well. The lighter brown. The thicker you blob it, the longer it is going to take to dry. Just bear that in mind. So if you're really in a hurry, do it thinner and you just won't have so much texture. I'm trying to get a good bit of texture on this. Whatever size you're doing, get yourself a tray so you've got plenty of working room. Because you want to catch all this cinnamon, and then just sprinkle it over the top. Yeah, not complete coverage, but more coverage than not, unless you want to have just a slightly rusty look. Turn it upside down, give it a bash, and now that side is ready to dry and is looking really old and rusty. So we need to do the other side, and I won't bore you with this. It's going to be the same thing over the whole thing, and I'll come back to you when I've finished. And this is what you end up with now. Doesn't that look old and tatty and rusty? So I'm going to put this down to dry and get on with the next part of the job and wash my brush. I managed to get the wig off this doll. It was rather difficult. It took me a while, but it's off and I'll keep that. Always useful for something or other. And I'm going to take off this little like skull top like that. And she's left with a hole in her head. And there's a few bits of hair sticking out. So I'm just going to chop those roughly. I don't actually mind if they stay there because it adds a little bit of texture. And I've covered her eyes. I don't want them, they're like glass eyes, and I want those still looking normal. So I put this little bit of washi tape on the top just to cover the most of them. You know how I haven't got a steady hand, so it seemed like a good idea. But I actually like the red eyes now. But I think maybe that's a little bit more Halloween-y than Dark Academia. So that'll be coming back off. With no expense spared, I'm going to use a brand new palette. And I'm going to use this PBO Studio Acrylic High Viscosity Ivory Opaque. This is one of my favourites. I think it is the favourite. I don't know if it's the best, but of the ones I've tried, it's the best paint for me. I've not got any sponsorship or affiliate with them. I'm just letting you know that it's a really nice paint. So now I need to paint this doll. She's looking far too healthy. I want her to look dead almost. So I'm going to paint her in this ivory colour. Not so much dead, but more like she's a specimen than she's a person who you pulled the hair off. It really is worth keeping an eye out for these dolls in thrift stores and in car boot sales or yard sales, because the more modern ones, everybody's trying to get rid of them. So it's a perfect time to buy them. I'm going to put some paint on her eyelashes. The theory is eventually they may stick to her actual head. So she's still got eyelashes, but they're sort of attached. I don't know if that'll work. They may ping back off. We'll find out. What I like about these is they're professionally made and they were selling for a fortune. But if you look inside there, I don't know if you can see, right in there, the eyes are like, I'm not sure if they're glass or plastic. And then they just completely blobbed in with some sort of glue. They haven't tried to make it a good, neat job where you can't see, which is good because sometimes when you're crafting, you think, oh yes, I've had to hide all the bits that are scruffy because I'm not very good at crafting. No, it's just that most people, if things are not seen, don't worry about them being neat and tidy. And this is a professional job and it's still not that neat and tidy. So now that's dry, you can see it there. I'm going to bring out some chalk paint. Now you can do this stage in chalk paint really, but I decided I wanted to do it in the acrylic because I thought it had more chance of the eyelashes sticking. And it gives it a really nice solid base as well. I don't know if that makes any difference if you go to use chalk paint anyway. And I'm just going to get a dry brush, which just means drying your brush off as much as you can. Just do a little bit of dotting all over. Now, don't panic, this looks a little bit weird, but it will get better. Just want to make it look more like bone than rather like it's just been painted ivory, which I think it does. And I know the face wouldn't really be bone, but it would if it was, well, it would be stone if it was fossilised, wouldn't it, not bone. But it's the look I want to go for, so why not? It really doesn't take much paint at all when you're doing dry brush technique. I think you end up with more left on your palette after you've dried your brush than you actually use on the item. Well, depending on the size, obviously. If you're doing something like a chest of drawers or a table, then that's not the truth. Now I'm going to use a little bit of my brown chalk paint, which is just brown acrylic with a little bit of chalk in it. Well, it's not chalk, it's talc. Same thing. Make sure you're nice and dry. It doesn't matter if you pick up a bit of the other colour on your palette anyway. And now do a little bit more blobbing. I'm going to start this at the back because it's quite a dark colour, just to make sure I haven't got it wrong. And the advantage if you're doing this sort of things, if you get something wrong and you think you've done it a bit dark, I think her forehead may be a little bit too dark, you just go back over it. It's quite therapeutic and dries really quickly. One, because it's chalk paint, and two, because there's hardly any paint on it anyway. I've got a really long paintbrush that keeps hitting my light. I keep threatening to saw them down a little bit because I never use the full extent of a paintbrush. I want to add a different colour. I want to add a bit of grey, and I don't have any grey chalk paint. So I'm just going to add a little bit. I know, I'm a messy worker. A little bit of talc. Mix it in with the grey. And it's a sort of grey chalk paint. Test blob on the back where the hair is. And that's what I think I needed. That's much more the sort of thing I was looking for. As you can see, just by adding layer after layer, the more layers you do, the more realistic I think it looks. I've done more to the front than the back. You need to make sure you do the back just as well. It's just, it'll take me too long and I have to get this video edited. So that will do. Put my paint away and then we'll take the masking tape off the eyes. So the time has come. Let's see how much of a mess I made of these eyes. Oh, I think that worked out pretty good. Let's try this one. Oh, I'm pleased with that. For me, that's very neat, isn't it? Right, let's pop her down there. And let's get on with the next bit. I have this. I've got several of these. They were off a little bonsai plastic tree. I picked this up in a car boot sale for £1 because most of the branches were there, but most of the leaves weren't. So I've got some nice chunky bits of leaves. So it was a reasonable way of buying myself some greenery. Now I'm going to use this to decorate this head, but I don't want to decorate it yet because otherwise it won't fit inside my lantern, because I can't take the lantern apart, and I have made sure, and she does fit through, but she doesn't fit through with things on her head. So we're going to set her to one side and bring the lantern back. So now to put the head into the lantern. Now you can either put it up on something, a block in the bottom of your lantern and then raise her up. But because I want to make this into a spring one, I am going to lower her down. You can still see it's a head, but I want to put something green on top, as you saw. And now she's stuck. I didn't want her to drop right down. She's dropped right down, and now she's looking at me. She's peeking out of there. That's really not going to work. Oh, I'm going to have to spend a few minutes trying to pull her back up. I don't know how I'm going to do it. Oh, there we go. She got jammed on the candle holder. Right, okay. Change of plan number 73. I'm going to put some hot glue onto this tumbling block, loads of it. Pop the tumbling block onto the little lump in the bottom so she can't fall on top of it. And then I'm going to glue her to that tumbling block, I think. Don't think she's going to stay otherwise. So, put a bit of glue, pop her back in. There, she's more the height I wanted now. I'll show you. Sorry you can't see everything that's going on. She's there now. But now she's too high and you can't see the hair. Right, okay then, change your plan again. I'm just going to put some little bits around the back of her head where you can see them. And then we'll decorate the rest. So I'll pop these in, and when they're in place, I'll show you what it looks like. So there she is with the top of her hair done. And now I'm just going to put some greenery around the bottom because we do need to hide the gap. And I think it'll look nice too. What I love about a craft like this is you can take any sort of lantern. You can take one that's painted bright orange if you wanted to, and a really modern one. As long as you can get the bulb out and the fitting inside, then you'll be fine. So there we have our dark academia lamp, which is very, very rusty, and it has a specimen of some sort or other in there, and some greenery to make it look like spring. I love the way this one has turned out. You can see all the way around the lantern, we got some greenery, and that is definitely dark academia with a hint of spring, with that lovely bright green inside it, but it doesn't stop it being dark, if you see what I mean. If I show you there, you can see the eyelashes worked out perfectly. Only one or two pinged off, and I don't think that looks too bad. Right, let's see what this looks like up on my display. Well, I hope you enjoyed those Dark Academia spring crafts. They were such fun to make. And all using old or upcycled things I bought really, really cheaply. You know me, I don't spend a lot. And they've made some fantastic things to put in your display. And these will also be great for Halloween. And apparently, my son was saying there's a thing called Halloween 2 now, which is over Valentine's Day. I'd never heard of it, but there you go. So, Dark Academia, Halloween, or even Halloween 2. If you've enjoyed watching this video, then please give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe, and also click the little bell by the side of the subscribe button, because otherwise you won't get notified if I go live, and you'll always be the first to catch my videos then. I'll see you all next time, but until then, don't forget, happy crafting and have fun. Bye!